Give me like 5 minutes. For the record, I just came from my maid cafe shift, and that ended at 12:30. And with this panel starting at 1, I had to book it to my room, undressed, couldn't even shower. I just threw on like deodorant and did my hair.
That's why it's musky.
And then just grab my laptop and come back here. So just 5 minutes to sit down, please.
Just in the middle when I was shaving, that I suddenly, oh shit, in like 5 minutes my shift starts.
Pretty much. That's pretty much how it's gone. But how are you guys liking the con? You having a good time? Good. I've heard so many good things about this con from Vex and from Noodles when they were talking to me about Awoostria, the history of the con starting. This is its second year, correct?
Yeah.
It's crazy to think about. It's, again, I know I said that on front stage. It's an absolute honor to be here as the guest of honor, let alone for the second instance of the convention. So truthfully, I did spend a lot of effort on these panels and presentations just because I want to offer the best that I can, even than I did at TFF. I know, wonderful images right here. Originally, so little story time with this. Ever since I got into Austria, for some reason, the one device that I just cannot connect to the internet has been my laptop. And I've needed to do a little bit of work with doing like cram work before I get out. Didn't even get the presentation started till I left. So I've had to use all sorts of like phone data, like traveling between like hotspots and whatnot. And despite all that, it still managed to work out. I had to literally last night, because I didn't think I would have an internet connection, I downloaded each individual slide PNG because I didn't know if I was going to be able to present this. But hey, PowerPoint managed to fuck up its free trial, so now we're here and now I can like present it. And it looks sort of pretty. I mean, depending on your definition of pretty.
It has that like late 90s Blue Cities energy with the dancing baby goose.
I did this a weekend ago when I was drunk, so like there's maybe some humor in here and there. But
I say that as praise, it's fun.
I appreciate it. Also, is my phone recording, just for a record? Do you see it all going?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I just want to make sure I have everything set, but just like 5 minutes, I guess 2 minutes now, not even, and we'll get started. But pretty much, I guess, a TLDR of this panel. The last time, and rather first time I did any sort of content creator panel was at Texas Furry Fiesta in 2022, which is Furry Convention in Texas, and it was my first time being a guest of honor, and I wanted to put it together in the best way that I could to offer those who are looking for any sort of guidance to get into content creation, a way to do it, just kind of giving it based off of how I started and motivational aspects of it. And even going forward, whenever I would do this panel, like truthfully, I could have probably done a better job with the second panel the year that I did it. And so I kind of took it into account of trying to do pretty much a better job than I did last time. Like, even though I did the best job that I could before, I wanted to make it better this time. So pretty much going forward, any iteration of this panel, part 1 and part 2, is going to be a reformed, refined version of it. And the best part about it, which I found a way to do it, I have a QR code at the end of the slide, so if you want to download these slides for any notes or get future iterations of this panel or presentation that I do at other conventions, you're going to get access to it. So as long as you have the QR code, you should be good to go with getting it. So now that I've said, oh, that feels so good. Dude, I've been standing for so long. I burned so many calories. Oh my God. Oh, it's been so good. All right. So welcome, everyone, officially to my first panel, or I guess second if you count last night's Q&A panel, my introduction to content creation. And truthfully, I hate using the word content creation because it is such an icky connotation with it, because you think, oh, content, I gotta get content, and then you think of that with like either streamers, TikTokers, whatever it may be. I just feel like with media and how the internet is, they take it out of context in the sense that it is, more of a I want to grow my brand sort of thing through content, making content. But that is just the best way to generally describe what it is that you're doing, because I don't want to say I'm doing an intro to YouTube panel, because that just doesn't necessarily cover it. And you might be here for wanting to start Twitch streaming or making TikTok videos or really anything. You want to put something out there on the internet. You want to build your craft and put a part of you out there. And so that's why I have to use the general term content creation. So apologies for using the icky word that I don't really like using, but that's the best way I can describe it. So regardless, today we're going to be pretty much talking about the nitty-gritty of getting into content creation, getting into putting anything out there on the internet, whether you want to start YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, whatever Instagram, social media account, just getting into it, because a lot of the times even getting into it is the hard part. Getting started with any new hobby or any new thing, it's a very big challenge. I mean, even me coming here to Europe, to Awoostria, to Austria in the first place, it took a lot of confidence building, a lot of courage to even come and do it. Am I glad I did it? Absolutely. But a lot of times that first barrier of like coming out of your comfort zone and really getting like the bare bones questions asked of like, is this going to be taken care of? I'm going to have travel. I'm going to have expenses taken care of. A lot of that you want to have dealt with. And the same thing pretty much applies to anything, especially with content creation. You want to know what you want to get into, what niche to follow, what format you want to make. And if it's like, you probably have a lot of questions of like, are you doing the best job you can? Is it perfect? Am I boring? Which I just want to say, and it's a spoil for a future slide, I don't want to hear any of that shit anymore. You're not boring. There's always going to be an audience for someone out there. If you have something that you are interested in, there's 99% of the time someone interested in that too. And you just have to kind of hope you get the luck of the draw with finding it. But at the end of the day, doing it is better than putting it off and not acting on it. Best example for me, I've wanted to start doing a podcast for a while, ever since this year rolled around. And look at me now, I haven't started a podcast yet. I've been putting that off. I haven't found the motivation or really the sort of niche that I want to get into. And that's what I found actually right before leaving for Awoostria, after talking with a really good friend of mine, that we're going to start something as soon as I get back. And I got that motivation, that like draw, that passionate inspiration to do that. And I think that's very important that everyone kind of finds that with regards to doing it, because whatever worries or concerns about, is this perfect, is this good enough, kind of goes to the side when you have that like real spark, that real passion for whatever it is you want to put out there. So that's pretty much what this panel is. And then part two is going to be more of like the nitty gritty of understanding like social media stuff, you know, some advice on like how to grow things and kind of things to keep in mind mentally when you're continuing to create content, create your craft. And if you're not seeing results, or if you're like comparing yourself to others, or if, you know, you might be jealous of others if they're getting success and whatnot. And I get that. Everyone is there. Do not think that you're a bad person or evil if you think that, because that's just a normal human emotion. And I think that's just what it is at the end of the day, kind of normalizing, humanizing the extent of creating something, putting it out there. So without further ado, let's begin. So, oh my. So lovely. I just kind of put together some pictures of my face and threw it on a slide. But pretty much as like the TLDR of my history, as Beta Delota with what I've done with content creation, just brief summary of my story. I started when I was 12 years old, when I had just gotten into high school. So give or take 2014 was when I started making YouTube videos. And I was really inspired at the time by like Let's Plays with people just playing a video game, commenting on it, you know, talking about whatever it might be in the back. That really drew me in. And so I got my first ever capture card at a Best Buy for $40, which barely recorded in 480p. It was a nightmare to even set up. And then like borderline just like a rock band microphone to like, you know, talk into and like deep throat. And it wasn't really good. But I had that drive to get started. And so with starting YouTube and following through with it, I've always had these different ebbs and flows of what it is that I want to focus on, inspirational points. So for me, it started with Let's Plays. Then eventually I was a huge Call of Duty nerd as a kid. So I got into Call of Duty commentary with that. Then eventually just in general gameplay commentary, meshing the two together, building my experience with it. It's all kind of stemmed from just wanting to talk and tell a story. I mean, that's what I'm doing now at the panel. A lot of it is just me yapping about while you're reading the slides and looking at me having an existential crisis on Rock and Roller Coaster. So, you know, with that in mind, I always knew the essence of what I wanted to put out there was telling a story or commentary. I had this vision in my mind of whenever I was doing YouTube, I always kind of pictured it similar to like everyone's surrounded like by the campfire with like the wooden logs, and then someone's telling like a story or giving advice, and like everyone's kind of captivated by that one story. It really resonates. It sends a message. And I always wanted to do that as a kid, but never really had the confidence or never really had sort of the friend group to kind of push me to do that. I said confidence twice, but pretty much just coming into my own with being a speaker. That's what I wanted to build up, and that was my goal with it. So throughout the span of my decade plus of creating content or YouTube videos, it all revolves around commentary. So it went from like gameplay commentary to cynical commentary, 7 levels of being a furry, crossed arms Ransona sort of thing before being a furry, and Ransona commentary, then eventually getting into the furry fandom with wanting to make furry info videos, then transitioning to like stream highlights, seeing that that was what everyone was doing, and also just I thought it was a lot easier and more streamlined for me to talk while I'm like live streaming, kind of like what I would be doing now, like in a presentation, instead of like planning it all with a video. So I had that as like sort of my next niche. It wasn't exactly the best quality, but it's something that I continue to go upon, to move upon what I was really motivated to do. And now today it's more like video essays, like long form videos, very well thought out, scripted topics where I discuss whatever it is on my mind and apply it to my experience, my knowledge about very bare bones psychology, philosophy. I'm not certified in any means to even say that, but point being, it's all revolved around commentary, but the basis of it has changed. And along with that, I've been a Twitch streamer since 2016, and usual social media slop, posting in all sorts of places. And then eventually, I'll be a podcaster at some point. That is like my next big goal with what I want to do. So with regards to this whole getting into content creation, I feel like I've had a good experience and build up with where I've come to be and how it's been based off of. And hopefully it's some inspiration or motivation for you guys to get started. And I guess a quick question before we continue. How many of you have, just show of hands, how many of you have started making any sort of content on YouTube, Twitch, whatever it is? Okay, so like a good half. And then I'm assuming the other half, how many of you guys want to get started but haven't yet? Okay. So that's pretty good. I think honestly that's like the biggest roadblock is getting started and knowing what to do. And that's what I hopefully want to help you guys answer with this panel, or at least get kind of the things going, the bare bones discussion of that. Why do I keep saying bare bones? Maybe the ADHD taking the wheel, man.
It's a dog thing, saying bone.
Yeah, sure. You got that. But the biggest roadblock with getting started in content creation, what do you think that is? Just like ideas, good one. You in the back, first you in the back. Oh.
Like me. I am the boss.
Oh, I guess so. You.
Thinking that your content is good enough that other people would want to watch it.
Okay, and then you.
Self-criticism.
Okay. A lot of like self-confidence, sort of like hyping yourself up to even get into it, worries, concerns about the what ifs, what will happen. And pretty much my answer to that is a generalization of all of that. The biggest roadblock, in my opinion, to getting started with content creation is doing the thing. You haven't done the thing yet. You haven't put any video out there. You haven't done the thing that you have in your mind. You might have whatever idea that you want to do and your worries and concerns. Something might be stopping you, whether it's yourself or external forces, whatever it is, but it comes down to you just haven't done it. And usually ripping off that Band-Aid is the first step with doing it. And so I want to get past that through a little bit of help. So here's what you'll hopefully learn today in order of like the main topics here. First one, how to get into content creation, easy answer, do the thing, but I know it's a lot more than that. There's a lot more steps with kind of understanding that, giving yourself inspiration, motivation, and really fighting past that confidence with really putting anything out there. Because it's scary, you're making yourself vulnerable to the internet and people are fucking mean. They're mean. So that's something to worry about. I totally get that, even as someone who's doing that today. So that's the first thing. Second thing, the inspiration for getting into content creation. That is probably the biggest driving factor, even for me, to continue doing this a decade plus later. Because at some point, you'd think burnout is a thing. You get exhausted with, the progress you've made or little to no progress, depending on how much you look back at it. But, one thing that always has changed for me is who inspires me to keep going or to change my content to make it better. And that's why allowing yourself to get inspired by people is important. Third thing, good practices to keep with content creating. That's why I gave you guys pen and paper, because taking notes is absolutely important. And the fourth thing, the key to collaboration, which I know is something that a lot of people ask about. How do you collaborate with someone you want to work with? Like, you might want to work with me or another streamer, another content creator. You just might not know what the right steps are with it, and you might not know how to really do that, or I guess the approach, what the idea might be. And so we'll answer that pretty much today. So, first thing, oh, it's Bretta. Yeah, this is before Snapcam went away and I couldn't put my face on toast, but this is Bretta. Say hi to Bretta. So, getting inspired. who inspires you to be a content creator? And that's the one reason why you're probably even interested in the first place. You saw someone else doing it on YouTube or whatever it is, and you want to do it yourself, whatever it might be. I went over previously of the different niches or subjects or types of content that I've made through the years, and that has always changed based on who it is that I'm inspired by at the time. So even starting from the beginning, the first person that I was inspired by to even start YouTube, does anyone recognize who this is at all? Okay, so I've been on the ancient times of YouTube. This guy, SSOHPKC, I was looking up because I didn't have the game at the time because I needed to replace Fallout New Vegas. And so I went on YouTube. I wanted to watch a playthrough of the Old World Blues DLC in Fallout New Vegas, best DLC in my opinion. And I wanted to watch a playthrough of it. And his playthrough came on my YouTube page. And I'm like, whoa, this guy's really cool. What is he doing? And then I saw he did all these Let's Plays for like Darksiders, Grand Theft Auto, all these playthroughs. I don't know if he uploads now. I don't know where he went. But back in like, what was this? When I was like 11, 12 or so, just wanting to get into content creation, really wanting to, and really begging my parents to let me get a capture card and start uploading videos. This was my main motivation, my main inspiration for getting started, for getting into Let's Plays, wanting to do the same thing. And so for me, he was like the big start for even being here today, getting the ball rolling and just doing it. Just thinking, oh, I want to do a playthrough of old platformer game that I played as a kid, SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom. Best platformer from like THQ in my opinion. It's so good.
Yeah.
They screwed it up and rehydrated, if I'm going to be entirely honest, but that's a whole other conversation. But that was the one thing that...
Here in Austria.
Oh my God. I miss THQ, man. Look, that's a whole other conversation for another day. But that was what I wanted to start with, and that's what I did. I did a whole playthrough of SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom, just like walk through commentary, not even commentary, just wanted to upload something, put something out there. That's what I started with. But eventually, as I got my microphone, $20 Rock Band microphone from Best Buy, the motivation changed. And so after that, I got into Call of Duty commentary. 402 Thunder 402, or The Legend of Thunder, was the first Call of Duty commentary channel I ever encountered. And I was infatuated with the idea of it because his videos would start with some sort of montage of him popping off, like owning everyone in the public lobbies in COD with some like rock music in the back, like Metallica or Dragon Force. I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool. And then he just start talking and then throwing all these like jokes in. I'm like, what is this? And then I realized that it's gameplay commentary or Call of Duty commentary. And so seeing his videos and getting into it was what really inspired me to pick up the microphone and start speaking. Even if I had the worst voice before any of this came to be and puberty hit me, it still was something I wanted to do no matter what happened, because I just wanted to put this out there, to talk, to tell a story, to talk through the form of visual gameplay. And I guess that hasn't really changed nowadays. You know, people put eye candy on the screen and then they talk. You know, I guess it's different now because it's Subway Surfers and not COD, because COD sucks. I would show his latest videos, but most of the thumbnails are AI generated, which, you know, fall off, I guess, sort of thing. But he was my first motivation with even getting into commentary, with getting the ball rolling, of me putting my voice out there. From there, getting past that, I guess sadly, or for better or for worse, we all kind of had our little edgy phase. And for me, it was commentary community, the sense of talking over any gameplay, Counter-Strike surfing footage, and then just talking about woman eats sand, or like whatever cringy thing on the internet. There was a point in like, I think this was like 2016 or 2017 in high school, where like the YouTubers Leafy is here and Pyrocynical were like the big channels that everyone was talking about at the time. And me and my friend were like, oh, did you see the new Leafy is here video? It was so funny. They're dunking on the furry that did this sort of thing. And that was sort of innately my introduction to furries existing. But it was just more like, oh, it's fun to laugh along with someone laughing at something or talking about whatever small topic it is. Granted, Pyrocynical has changed, more so doing like lengthy video essays, like 2-hour-long Far Cry 3 video. But before, with his older content, with playing like Prototype 2 or Counter-Strike surfing footage, I heard his voice and I'm like, wow, I kind of want to do more of like the cynical commentary, cracking more jokes rather than talking about whatever gameplay that I'm doing at the time. The gameplay is just supplementary. The main thing is what I'm talking about or whatever the subject of the video is. And so that's what inspired me to get into that portion of it. But from there, after a little bit of soul searching and seeking, you know, I eventually ended up being a furry, long story short. And my next motivation or inspiration for getting into the furry info content or just embracing the furry fandom was my friend Kyle or Majira. You know, low key, after I made the Seminoles of Being a Furry video, did like live streams on YouTube, and people were asking like, have you seen Majira Strawberry? I'm like, what the fuck is a Majira? And so eventually I like go to watch one of his videos on stream, and I do pretty much the whole Leafy is here edgy, cringy commentator thing. I'm like, this is so cringe, haha, and we're like dunking on it. And then like literally that evening, I'm not even kidding, I was like playing Call of Duty Zombies, and I'm like, I need some like background noise. And then like I saw the video of Majira still up. I'm like, well, let's see what else he has to offer. And then I just watched the rest of that. I'm like, this actually isn't bad. This is different. So for me, he was kind of the inspiration with kind of embracing myself and embracing something that I really enjoyed, that honestly, the whole cringe furry stuff was forced. And it was more so to like kind of fit in from what I understood as like trying to find a community, find myself. And so even outside of the sense of content itself, Majira was a motivator, an inspiration for me to more so embrace this furry side that I enjoy, to be unapologetically me, and find that. So that's where even inspiration-wise, YouTubers can inspire you without their content, but through who they are and how they conduct themselves. And that's another way to even think about it. It doesn't have to be specifically the videos, could be the person or the personality, which is very important, because going on from there, increasing the quality of videos for me was important. This is where I got introduced to video essays. Did anyone recognize Bread Sword? Anyone seen this video? I'm sure you've seen Treasure Planet. Please watch this. It's so fucking good. Oh my God. I put that on like repeats so often, how like Treasure Planet was like Disney's biggest mistake. It was like lightning in a bottle, but like they kind of made it fail to some extent. But God, it was so good. Watch Treasure Planet if you haven't already. It's so good. So good. But I saw some of his videos, and it kind of motivated me to not really narrow, but expand my interests outside of just like furry content and furry videos, and try to like look into other pieces of media, because my interest wasn't just with the furry fandom, it was with other things like other characters, storytelling. I was very deep into understanding symbolism behind stories. And so for Bread Sword, a lot of his videos are like lengthy video essays going over animation, going over stories. And so that kind of motivated me to take it a step further with how I wanted to improve my content. So less about personality, more about just doing a pretty lengthy essay at the end of the day. And then from there, I guess for more recently, Wendigoon has been a more or less inspiration to me. With, I don't really necessarily know how to describe his content besides a mix between like personality with how he is, and then just like lengthy, in-depth, weird, niche interest in some weird fascinating thing. Like I think one of his recent videos was like going over the history of pigeons, how they were originally like very valued, and now they're seen as like the pests with wings. Like it's so weird and so out there, but it kind of allowed me to expand my interests even further outside of furry and kind of enjoy, what I enjoy as usual, like horror stuff, the conspiracy theory iceberg, disturbing movie iceberg, that was hilarious. But it's just like one of those where it allowed me to kind of refine and remember like, okay, you guys can come in. Don't feel like you have to stand at the door. Come in.
No, those are photographers.
Oh, okay, never mind. Oh, okay, no, you're all good. Sorry, I'm not supposed to recognize you. But pretty much what Wendigoon kind of did at the time, for him being, I guess, an up-and-coming YouTuber. I found him at like 300,000 subs through like this video specifically. It made me realize that, again, you don't have to have the highest quality video camera, audio, or anything to make a really good video that people enjoy. It could be based on the personality, and it could literally be recorded with your iPhone, or at the time, I guess, iPod Touch, and then just throwing it in the background in the room, and there's all sorts of noise in the back. But it just goes to show that you can continue to do something that isn't necessarily the highest quality, and that you're really just putting out there what you're interested in. It kind of reminded me to continue to do that rather than continue the cycle of what I thought people wanted me to do. And so that's another thing to keep in mind when you're going further. Even further from there, with my interest in streaming, I've been a little bit on and off with that. And so my lovely friend, Snowy, who has been a very up-and-coming streamer in this past year, and I'm so proud of how far he's come, him in his success, because he had asked me for like help with everything, has really reignited my interest in streaming and being kind of like a storyteller, entertainer from the Twitch standpoint. Because it's been something that's been very flippy-floppy with me, because I'm so used to recording videos through like scripts and whatnot, kind of forgot how to really do the live action stuff, kind of like here, and be funny and entertaining to some extent. I was having the worry that, oh, I'm boring, I'm not entertaining. And that's something that comes kind of with like self-confidence issues on my end. And so Snowy was an example for me, an inspiration for me, of someone who is confident in what he does and what he enjoys and what he puts out there, And so, even outside of YouTube, I know this is just the YouTube page and shorts and whatnot, he reignited my interest in wanting to stream and wanting to really do better with building a community, building something funny, creating like memes from whatever funny moments happen on his streams. So he's been a recent inspiration for me. And along with that, going back to furry content creation, Finn the Panther has been a big inspiration for me. He kind of made me realize, even though my content has necessarily been kind of the same-ish with like not really getting the best quality stuff, he kind of showed me that there's another way to do furry info videos with all of his content, from like the vlogs to the how to do furry stuff, furry essentials with badges and all that. Like watching his stuff has reignited to some extent my interest in wanting to really refine those informational videos. And even though a lot of it is kind of revolved around like furry drama and nitty gritty shit on the internet, a lot of it has been for me wanting to at least inform or be able to tell something and convey this information in a way that's palatable. And I think the way he does it with like his colors, camera placement, everything, he has a way of wanting to frame a video. And so he's motivated me or inspired me to improve the quality of what I do. And so even outside of that, as I guess a final inspiration, if I were not in furry content creation, if I were to continue doing my engineering thing, another inspiration for me, ideally, would probably be Electro Boom, the guy who blows himself up with how not to make an electric guitar. Like, he's just funny. But like realistically, if I were to go down another path, an entirely different path, he might be an inspiration with me. Same with like Michael Reeves, for example. Granted, I wouldn't do much engineering stuff, and I'd probably just want to buy like Pokimane, like 50 gallons of crude oil or 50 barrels of crude oil. That's still the funniest thing for me for the whole Secret Santa thing they did. But point being, inspirations could be theoretical, and that's just me thinking, what would be an example of who would be an inspiration for me outside of all this furry stuff with whatever I have done in the past, what has inspired me, and where I would want to go. So this could be an alternative for me. And that's something to keep in mind with any sort of inspiration you might have. So with me yapping for a bit, since I need a little bit of a break, we're going to take a 5-minute break. I'm going to give you guys an assignment. Talk to the person or people next to you about who inspires you to make whatever it is that you would like. And this is a way to also connect with people, because that is very important to do, especially when you are making really anything out there, making friends. So make friends. I'm telling you what to do. Make friends and yap with one another. Talk about what you like. I'll be back in 5 minutes. All right. Ooh, that was pretty good. Has anyone seen The Menu? It's like a weird niche horror movie, like a bunch of like very rich people going to a thing. They do the whole like to like get everyone's attention. I didn't think that would work, but I guess it did. So that was give or take 5 minutes. I hope you learned something about each other with doing whatever it is that you like. Because first off, congratulations, that's your first time to some extent collaborating, but mainly connecting with another creator out there, regardless of whatever it is, whether it's YouTube, whatever field it is. So that's pretty good, Again, give yourselves a round of applause. You're doing good. You're doing good through this con. I want you to know that. You're doing a great job. Because you already just did something that many people haven't actually even done who want to get into this. Interacting with others who might either share or not really share the same interests, but have the same core of wanting to create something at the end of the day. It's very hard to talk to people about that same interest, passion that you might have, or who inspires you to that extent. But with that in mind, it's just something to keep a note of in the future with interacting with others and meeting new people with similar content creation interests. So next part of this going into is good practices. And this is why I handed out a lot of the pen and paper for you guys. Is there anyone here that did not get a piece of paper or a pen? So we can pass those around if you would like. Worst case, I think they're at the front here or somewhere. I don't know where they ended up, but just ask your neighbor to rip something off or share a piece of paper or pen. Either way, good practices. What can you do to keep creating? Because as soon as you kind of do the thing, rip the Band-Aid off with getting started because you're so inspired to do the thing, there's some good things to keep in mind with getting those thoughts out there, with really making, your thoughts brought to life. And a lot of it just does come down to kind of managing it and writing down ideas and so forth and not drowning in a pool with a life jacket on. That's just counterintuitive, but that's just how I be. I was also drunk in this pic, by the way, too, so yeah. But the big one for me, Garlic World, I don't know where that came from. Someone threw that on my notebook. This is the reason why I gave you a piece of paper and a pen. I don't know if you're allowed to take those with you or not. I hope you are. I asked for them to be supplied. But pretty much you have one of my, in my opinion, best resources to get your ideas out there, writing them down. I have always taken the advice that I was given to by my junior year of high school English teacher, where first day of class, when we were getting the syllabus and everything, he told us that any iPads, electronics, computers that we had, he wasn't allowing them in class. And if you wanted to take notes, you had to do it with a pen and paper. You had to do it by hand. And the reason why he said is because when you write things down, you're prone to remember them more. I think that was a load of shit at the end of the day, but I still did it, and it was honestly a good practice that I have kept with me. This is my notebook that I use for any ideas or realistically any thoughts that I have with whatever video I want to create. Now on the left is an endless Telegram channel of all these different links to video ideas based on topics that I see on mainly Twitter, because I'm terminally online, but you know, as you can see, it's not really organized. You don't know what this topic is or this one. So it's a little bit disorganized and disorientating. It might be the easiest solution with getting an idea saved for later, which I've used many times if I need to assess my video ideas channel list on Telegram. I have a lot of these here, so I can go through the links and see, okay, what was it that I wanted to maybe make a video on, and then I can revisit it later to put into a script or put it into a notebook. And so that's why with the pen and paper, any idea that might come to mind, whether it's during this panel, throughout the convention, or even going on in the future, you'll hopefully have that with you. And that's why I'd recommend getting like a tiny little handheld notebook and a pen you can easily keep in your pocket, keep with you, or take with you wherever, just to write an idea down. And the reason why I say a notebook, even though it might be easier to use on a phone or something, is because for me, honestly, I just need to spend less time in front of a computer screen. And so like this is a good way of doing it without it being a disorganized list of ideas. Not to say you can't use like a Google Doc or something, which is the main thing that I use for my scripts. A lot of the ideas start here, and it allows me to kind of take a step back from the computer screen, pull myself out back into reality instead of the online world, and understand what it is that I'm putting together. And unfortunately, I didn't bring my notebook with me because I had to rush here, but it's still besides the point that I think that this is the best way of doing it. Whatever way to organize your ideas that you can to get them out of your head and into some sort of physical format, I recommend doing that. Whether it's a Telegram channel, a Discord channel, whatever means of being able to type up an idea or write it down in a notebook, I'd recommend doing that, because then you can either revisit it later to see if it was a good idea or not. And if you keep it in your head, chances are you might forget it, or you might think it's a not good idea, and it might cause you to overthink with it. And that's just usually not good. So getting into a physical form is probably the best advice that I can give with anything that you want to do. Write it down or type it down wherever you can save it and look back at it later. But past that, kind of relates to the first point. If you're having issues with finding ideas, with getting into anything, keep experiencing, keep being inspired. And that's why for me, a lot of what I've done has changed through the years. With whatever kind of content it is that I want to make or videos, it's always been about like what has really interested me. Like it might not seem like it now, where I might look back at those old stream highlight videos or like the old commentary Rantsona videos. I might look back and be like, oh, that wasn't really a good look. But that was who I was and what I enjoyed back then. And that I think speaks more about wanting to pursue that passion and what I did, even if it might be the complete opposite of who I am now, than not acting on it at all. Because in some way, putting that off or even not doing any of that might not have led me here. And so for me, it's always been about trying to just get that out there and get those ideas out there, chase them, and just continue to allow myself to be inspired by others. And I know it might be a concern with worrying about if you're copying someone, per se. Like all the examples that I showed before of who inspires me, that could very well be a concern, that you don't want to copy what they're doing. You don't want to copy their format. And trust me, if you are doing these main 2 points here, being authentic, an individual, putting yourself out there, you're never copying someone. Okay, this also isn't like 2012 YouTube either, where like if some YouTuber covers a topic, no one else can. Some people try to argue that nowadays. I'm like, okay, dude, whatever. But pretty much the way to do it when you are making any sort of video or any sort of form of content is put your own spin on it. Be authentic, be yourself. And the big thing about furries too, when it comes to even putting yourselves out there and even having, I hate to use this word, but like a brand or individuality, you already have an advantage, and that being your individual personas, your individual interests tied to them, because I can guarantee that your personas and characters you put your heart and soul into, whether it's your own interests, hobbies, whatever it may be. People like furries are anything but surface level. You put your heart and souls and emotion into your characters and into what they enjoy, the Fursona lores. I've seen all sorts of deep pages as long as like Harry Potter novels about like the lore behind Fursonas. But it's just more so the point to remember that you're not going to be copying anyone because you are so like unique on your own and you have your own advantages with what you're putting out there. And the other thing as well, more of a point, kind of like the last one, your phone is the most powerful tool with whatever you are making. You might think, oh, I need a new video camera, I need a microphone, I need whatever beta has, I need this recommendation. A lot of times, literally just starting with your phone is the simplest and easiest way to do it. Literally how it started for me, even before getting like the $40 game capture device, I would literally do the stereotypical thing, took my phone, or at the time iPod Touch, put it on like a stack of books and pointed it at the TV screen and recorded that and uploaded that. Literally started, yes, I did that, and you know what? I kind of want to go back to that at some point just for the sake of it. It seems kind of fun to do. But it's just like, start wherever, just creating anything and really just trying to do it is so much better than being like, oh, I need to wait for this or I need to wait for that. Just do it. If you really want to do it, go past all that anxiety. I know it might be hard to do, but go past a lot of that and really just get into it, dig into it, have fun with it. And on top of that, do some research on like what it is you might want to do based on like inspiration. Write down your inspiration, whoever you're inspired by. And think about like what you like about it and how you can implement that into what you want to do, how you might want that to be individualistic. I get at the same time as well that could cause some overthinking with even doing the thing in the first place. So, with that in mind, even ask for help. Ask your friends about it. Your friends obviously are probably interested in what it is that you're making if you want to do like YouTube videos or streams or whatever it is. So you could always ask them for advice. For me, and this is kind of, I guess, spoilers for the next presentation tomorrow, your friends, and I found this especially when I've been trying to figure out what I want to do next when I'm in a rut or burnout or something, a lot of times my friends are a means of showing me things about myself that I won't see. They're like a way of seeing things about you when if you're self-critical about yourself or you're too hard on yourself, they might not be too hard on you and they might see things about you that you might not recognize. Like with my friend Snowy, I asked him like, hey, I don't really know what I want to do for like content creation or for YouTube or streaming. Do you have any advice on how I could maybe like pursue what I'm doing based on what you see in me? And the answer that he gave me is like, well, you're very ingrained in like the furry topic. Like, why not do like furry video game reviews or even like go into like podcast stuff or try to build a community, put emphasis more on like streaming and VTubing. And so I took a little bit of that into account to kind of build more of my Twitch audience and focus more on live streaming and have fun with that, really refine my craft there based on the advice that he had for me. So asking for help is absolutely all right. And like I said before, you're not copying anyone if you're really trying to put out there whatever it is you'd like. No one owns an idea specifically. So even if someone or I cover a topic, whatever you might want to discuss or talk about, you're more than welcome to do that as well. If anything, if you do a better job at it and do better, good on you. I'd rather you do a better job on it and get something from it than me, okay? That's really it. I get the idea of like competing with one another and worrying about stepping on each other's toes. But at the end of the day, it shouldn't be a worry when you're really trying to put out there what it is that you genuinely love and want to share with the world. That's what it comes down to, and I think everyone should give that a shot. But, just have fun with it. Don't get overwhelmed. Like me, handling for my friend at Anthrocon. It was a wild ride, let me tell you. I got to do like maybe a con story time for how this all happened, but it was wild. It involved like a death threat and me getting drunk at a con, and it was not good, but it was still a fun time regardless. But the next big step, collaborate. I don't know if that's supposed to be step 3 or 4. I lost count, okay? I can only count so much. I'm an engineer. But collaboration. This is not necessary to even getting started, but I think it's important to at least answer some of the questions with how you should even consider collaborating with people. Because I hear about it and see it a lot of like, oh, I want to collaborate with this person. I want to collab with them. And a lot of times there's a lot of steps missed in between with even getting to the point of doing it outside of writing down your ideas, outside of figuring out what it is you want to do with who, and so on. And even like conveying that to them to have sort of like this riveting idea and how to even collaborate in the first place. It's kind of tricky, so I want to go through with it. And also, that whole bit at the bottom, I was having a boomer moment where people are calling each other oomps and moots. I don't know what the next generation of furries is doing anymore, but I don't know any of that. But point being, how to collaborate. Yeah, I didn't know what to throw for an image. I was like, isn't there like a gif of like Carl Weezer and Shaggy doing the Macarena? And I'm like, there is! And I threw it in the slide. I don't know why. It's just kind of fun. I mean, they're just vibing. It's really funny too because they use the THQ model of the Scooby-Doo game for this animation. It's kind of neat.
That's better than the dancing baby.
Oh, so good. It's so good. But when it comes to collaborating, anything along those lines, it always has to start with some idea and really asking the question of why you want to collaborate with this person. And it kind of revolves around sort of a scenario that I get quite frequently, actually, when people reach out to me asking, like, hey, Beta, I want to collab with you, whether they're like folks that I've never interacted with before or people that I know. Sometimes they're just like, oh, I just want to collab with you. It sounds really fun. Let's do a video. And I'm like, oh, yeah, what'd you have in mind? And they don't have anything. There's nothing there. They don't have an idea. And they're like, oh, I didn't get this far. Kind of like the plankton meme. But it's really a point that happens often. And I think really thinking about think of it kind of like you're pitching an idea, like Shark Tank to some extent, where you're pitching your business or pitching this project, this product at the end of the day. Think about it when you're interacting with people or wanting to collaborate with them. You're doing it because you think that they have something to offer with whatever video or idea it is that you have to elevate that. So with my examples for collaborating in general, in years past when I did like the furry Fursona review recap videos where I went over like protogens, serigals, and all that, I'd collaborate with and invite people who have those sonas on to give some insight about their perspective on those Fursonas to elevate to some extent the video itself. So it isn't just me yapping on about a Sona that I researched for a little bit. It's actually having people who know a bit more about having that persona and, you know, how they feel connected with that character into it. It really elevates the value to some extent of that video, what you would take from it, rather than just me yapping on about it. So that's something very much to keep in mind. And even asking the question, what did I even say here? I memorized these slides to some extent, but like one of the question that I was thinking is like, when you want to collaborate with something, I gotta read this point, sorry. Collaboration should elevate what is you're making, not just because you want to work with them. I know you might want to work with someone too, but understand that maybe what it is that they have to offer for the collaboration might just not be a fit for what it is that you want to put out there. You know, if people want to work with me, they want to work with me, and hopefully it's for some reason of me elevating whatever it is they want to do, whether it's through like an interview for talk about the furry fandom or a discussion about, I guess, some psychological aspect of like social media in the furry fandom. I've had that happen a bunch where people who I have collaborated with have wanted to ask me questions about my experience with social media and furries and seeing how furries have changed through the years of me being a part of the fandom for however many years now. That, I think, elevates to some extent whatever arguing points they had in their videos or whatever their interview or podcast was. So it's more the point of understanding why it is you want to collaborate them and what they can offer. You know, the same thing goes with even doing like stream collabs or VR chat collabs. Have it be with people that you synergize well with, that you have the same energy levels and can bounce that off with. So it isn't like, you know, awkward in VR chat or it's awkward with whatever fun thing you're doing. That's why for me, like I'm usually like collaborating on streams with like my friend Jake or Snowy because our energy levels and our jokes and the fun we have, what we're able to do, like connects very well. It synergizes. And I think that's something that everyone should really keep in mind if they ever want to collab. You really have to think hard about it, about if you want them involved with a project, not for the sake of it because of like the name or the count next to their name or whatever it is, but really how they can make whatever you're doing better. And it also is a good way of connecting. I mean, even the people that you talk to today for 5 minutes, they could add some value to whatever project you're doing. Chances are you talk to someone who has some completely arbitrary other interest in creating something compared to you. And that might help in the long run if you have anything that you want to branch off for that. So really just think about it that way. You know, wanted to connect and meet people. You know, like me and Zero here for some reason. I don't know why I added that in. It's cute art. I haven't really shown it. But just remember as well, you know, when you are wanting to collaborate with people too, we're all just big, anxious weirdos at the end of the day. That's really it. You know, when you want to work with someone who has 1 million subscribers, for example, it can't hurt but to try and ask. If you really think that what they have to offer is going to value or increase the value of whatever product you're creating or project you're making, can't hurt to ask. It really can't. And I think everyone should do it. The worst thing they can say is no or not get back to it. And at least the thing that you can say is you tried. And next time you do reach out to collaborate with someone else, whether they are of the same level or I guess known level, you can improve upon even reaching out and asking, pitching the idea. It all comes down to just pitching an idea to work with them for whatever it is the project that you want to make. So just asking, you never know where it might lead. I've worked with plenty of people before of all different sizes. It just kind of depends on if I think I can add value to it and if I'm actually able to feasibly do it in time. So just keep that in mind too. So pretty much the lesson of getting started is just do it. Everything comes naturally later. Everything is going to improve later. Even literally doing the holding your phone up to a screen while recording whatever gameplay, that works. Just getting something out there that you want to make and improving upon it in the next few videos is so much better than waiting for the video itself or whatever it is you're making to be perfect in the first place. Because if you're going to keep trying to revise that video, and this is a really good question that someone asked in the previous Q&A panel that I did, they were worried about wanting to perfect something, like if there's so many things that they could make better. To some extent, going back and making that same thing over and over and over again, it's never going to be perfect. You will never make something that you will see as perfect, especially if you're very self-critical about it, if you're critical about your work. So to some extent, just kind of settling to some extent for putting something out there, seeing what you did wrong in that project and applying that to the next project is so much better than never having that first project in the first place. Because if you keep putting that off, you might never get that first project out. And that's what I would honestly recommend as the best advice of just doing it. Just put it out there. I know it might be scary. Ask your friends, talk to your friends, ask for feedback. That's really the best that I can offer because for me, I just kind of jumped into it and then went from there. And even though it was 10 years in the making and I make, in my opinion, kind of subpar videos, it's still something that I enjoy doing. And I'm very proud of being able to put the best, most genuine, authentic, in my opinion, videos of myself out there. So that pretty much concludes our presentation. And just because people will probably be asking, what it is that I use? It's a lot of shit. It's a lot of it through the years. I started at a Best Buy mic I got for $20. It was like a Rock Band mic. And then this weird Roxio game capture card from 2012, recorded with AV cables. And when you plugged it into the TV, it would take all the gameplay from there. You wouldn't be able to see it on the TV. You had to see it through the fucking mini capture window on the laptop. I'm like, ooh, this is not fun. But I still did it. Still did it because it was improvement, and I went through that. And so you can see even through the years, all the different equipment that I've used through time, where it started with 2012 and then built up to more recently. And even through all the camera and lights and programs, don't get Sony Vegas. Don't do it. I bought the full thing. No. So to sort of condense it, if you're interested in more of what I use more recently, since everyone asked, Beta, what do you use for this? This is all that I use for every single little bit of programs, equipment, for how I make my videos. And it doesn't have to be all of this. You don't even have to start with a big microphone. You could just start with literally a phone. I know I didn't add it to the camera and whatnot, but I still use my phone. I still use my microphone that I got in 2019. I still use Audacity, which is a free program to record commentary. I've used that for years. And I use the same, believe it or not, I use the same editing techniques that I learned back in the Call of Duty community to make my commentary more crisp. I've still applied that years later, and it still works. Noise reduction, normalize, compressor, bass and treble boost, limiter, normalize, and then I export that as the audio, and it still sounds about the same. Pretty good quality, I'd like to think. So some things that you learn are applicable even years later from what I found. So just keep this in mind, and I saw you guys taking pictures of it. You won't need to do that because all you need to do is scan the QR code and you have access to the slides. So that is the conclusion of Intro to Content Creation panel. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much.